Aloha and welcome to this overview of how we're going to use software project hosting in this class to satisfy the three prime directives. Remember, the three prime directives are that a user can use the system to accomplish a useful task, that a developer can actually download and install the system and change it. Okay? And then finally, we're going to be using GitHub to as our project hosting mechanism for this process. So let's look and see how we use GitHub to do that. And a lot of it is actually about how, beyond the version control stuff that you've already learned about, we want to focus here on how we use GitHub to document our system. So what are project hosting systems? Well, the granddaddy of them all is SourceForge. Microsoft came out with their own project hosting system called Codeplex, and of course in this class we're using GitHub. All of them are good in their own ways. We're going to use GitHub for a variety of reasons, but we could have easily used any of those other two as well. So the overall benefits of any project hosting system is support for configuration management and version control, the ability to create and host documentation online, the issue management in the way of some kind of bug tracking or task tracking mechanism, and then making the system publicly available to others. Okay, so because of this, I strongly recommend that you always host all your software in the cloud from now on for the remainder of your professional existence. There are places like at GitHub. If you have an educational account, you get 3 private repositories if you don't want to make it all public. There's other repositories like I think it's Bitbucket, where by default the projects are private and you pay money to make them public. So you don't have to always worry about having things in the clear in order to get the benefits of project hosting. So in this class, there's a few guidelines, and I created a page that goes over that provides this in a kind of easier to refer to manner. But let me just go through them orally real quick. One is that you want all the source code uploaded to your project so that nobody has to actually ask you for a file in order to make the system run. You are always going to want to have images or screenshots to document aspects of your system, and my recommendations in the top level have a directory called doc, and inside that have a directory called images, where you put those, and then you can have this doc directory serve other purposes as well if you need it to. You need to have a home page for your system in GitHub. The easiest way to do that is to make the readme.md file at the top level your home page, and then use the GitHub Pages mechanism to publish that page, that information in a more user-friendly fashion. And this should be at least a couple to 3 paragraphs, explanation of what your system does to entice other people to use it, or at least to help them understand whether or not they want to use it, with links to the other documentation associated with the project. In this class, I'd like to see at least a user guide, developer guide, and contact us pages as kind of the minimal level of documentation required to satisfy the 3 prime directives. And we're going to do those via the GitHub built-in Wiki page mechanism. And then GitHub also has a release manager, so we can mark releases. Okay, so here's what a home page might look like after it's been published using GitHub Pages. This could be the readme.md file, but displayed in a rather attractive way. And what you can see if you look at the URL associated with this, it has your account name, in my case Philip M. Johnson, then .github.io / and then the name of the repo, which in this case is Robocode PMJ to Cruiser. Okay, so that's a much nicer way for a user to learn about the system than going to the default GitHub page, which looks like this, which is a little intimidating for a new user to look at. It's got all this developer stuff along the side, so it's much nicer for a new user to come to a page that looks like this, and then they can click around to get to the other stuff. Okay, so you want the home page to provide an attractive, informative introduction to your system with links to further details. The way you do this in GitHub is you use the settings GitHub Pages area to generate it from your README file. To create a user guide for the system, I would recommend you use the Wiki mechanism within GitHub, and you just write a page that provides information necessary for the user to use the system, presumably with a lot of nice screen dumps. Users don't necessarily use IDEs or build tools or whatever, so it should be kind of a high-level system, high-level view of the usage. In the case of this class where we're hosting our applications, you should presume that the applications is hosted and the user doesn't have to worry about that, and all they want to do is go to the URL on Heroku or elsewhere and deal with the system there. The developer guide is for those who actually want to make changes to the system. There you need to talk about what the prerequisites are, how to download the software, how to build it, how to test it, how to perform QA, other QA like check style, and documentation, anything that is important for them to know to be able to actually make changes. Okay. Yeah. The Contact Us page, finally, is a page where you explain to users how they can get in touch with the developer or user community. Maybe you have a Stack Overflow tag, maybe you have a discussion list, maybe you just have a set of email addresses. This is the place to put it. Okay. And finally, if you want to see a summary of these suggestions, you can go to the guidelines page in this module.